Well, I don't know if what I'm about to say is for everybody in the room, but if this is for you, I want you to embody the statement that from here on out, I'm showing up different. I'm showing up different because this is the year I need something different. There's too much going on around me for me to just sit back and let life happen. I'm showing up. Oh, I got 4 people in the room with me. I don't care. I still got an army. I said, I don't care if I got 4 people with me. I'm still showing up different. Well, this version of me will no longer beg for an understanding from people who have reached their expiration date in my life. Yeah, I'm showing up different. See, I choose alignment over availability. I dimmed my light because I could see people wearing sunglasses. I've dimmed my light for too long because I could see that other people were not wearing their sunglasses. But now, I'm no longer showing up to be like, I'm showing up to be obedient. That means I'm showing up different. And the reason I'm showing up obedient is because I now understand that the calling outweighs the criticism. The reason I'm showing up obedient right now is because I now understand that the calling now outweighs the criticism. I said, this year I'm showing up different. Somebody shout, I'm showing up different. Somebody shout at me, I'm showing up different. Well, Isaiah 43:1. Isaiah 43:1. I will not be afraid, for I am his, and he has called me by my name. So this means they can call me by my sin, but because he calls me by my name, this means this year I'm showing up different. I want somebody to write down on your notes, I'm showing up different. This is my year, I'm showing up different. Church, today, we talk about what needs to be different if you are going to be unleashed this year. Today, we talk about the main thing that needs to reawaken in order for you to experience a true revival. A true what? A true what? Before we dive in today's message, if you're ready to recap what we've gone over so far, somebody shout at me, run it back. Well, week 1, we began establishing the foundation of the series. We began looking into the life of the Messiah, of the who? We talked about how Jesus was headed toward Jerusalem. He was on a journey. As he was headed toward Jerusalem, he was surrounded by a crowd of people. And when he moved, they moved just like that. We talked about how Jesus was in the middle of a procession in Matthew 21:9, if you're taking notes. And that, because he was linked to King David on his earthly side through his father Joseph, the fact that people were surrounding Jesus as he moved, if the fact that there were people in front of him, the fact that there were people behind him, on the side of him, as he moved, they were in fact orbiting a throne. In week 1, we talked about orbits. We talked about what? I asked the question, what is at the center of why you make certain choices and say certain things? Is it Jesus or is it anger? Is it entitlement or is it unresolved trauma? What is at the center of why you are influenced to say and do certain things? We talked about how when Jesus made it to Jerusalem, he went into the temple and he began flipping tables because people were in the temple using it as a marketplace and they were not using it as a place of worship. Jesus flipped the tables and cleansed the temple. Thus the temple receiving a revival. Jesus then began to heal the sick who came into the temple thereafter. In week 1, we asked the question, what's on your temple table that needs to be flipped in order for you to unleash this year? In week 1, we asked the question, what is on your temple table that needs to be flipped in order for you to unleash this year? In week 2, we found out that Jesus performed a major miracle. He showed up to a man who was blind from birth, who made a career out of begging. We landed in the New Testament reading out of John chapter 9, and in week 2, we talked about spiritual eyesight. We talked about what? At this point, Jesus had just left the temple, the place of spiritual sight, to notice a blind beggar, a man with no vision, sitting outside. We talked about how the revival had to come to this blind beggar. He didn't have to work for it. He didn't have to go to it. It came to him. It had to come to him because the blind beggar, he didn't have a circle. He didn't have the right people around him advocating for his deliverance. So Jesus, he had to meet him where he was at. And the revival that was for this blind beggar, he had to get it out the mud. Another thing we attached to week 2 regarding spiritual eyesight was understanding the importance of your Johari window as it relates to the things that are seen and unseen in your life. How that there are 4 areas to every person. There's the known area, the side of you that everybody knows about you, that you know about yourself. There's the private area, the area that other people know about you, that you don't know about yourself. Then there's the hidden area, the area that you know about yourself, that other people don't know. And then there's the area of the unknown. Your known area it houses things like your personality, your calling, your gifts and your talents, your habits and your public behavior. Your private area houses things like your tone, patterns, attitudes, weaknesses, and the strengths you often underestimate. Your hidden area houses things like pain, fear, shame, trauma, insecurities, and unspoken doubts that you wrestle with. It's not necessarily an area of sin, but it's an area that is unhealed. Then you have the unknown. The unknown area houses things like untapped callings and potential, the dormant gifts that have yet to be awakened, the trials, tribulations, and assignments you haven't faced yet as they relate to you walking in your purpose. All of that was just the first 2 weeks. Somebody said, oh, my God. Then we had last week. Somebody shout last week. In week 3, we highlighted spiritual hearing. Spiritual what? We talked about how Jesus intentionally traveled from Tyre up to Sidon before going back down to Decapolis, all of which were Gentile territories. Jesus was a Jew, and the Jews and the Gentiles were at odds with each other. But when Jesus showed up to Sidon in Mark 7, the Gentile crowd begged Jesus to heal a deaf man. In week 3, we talked about the importance of your circle. We talked about how sometimes your revival can show up simply because of who you're connected to. See, unlike the blind beggar, this deaf man, he had a circle. He had a what? He had the right people around him advocating for his deliverance. So when Jesus showed up, the revival happened for the deaf man simply because of the pleading of the people that was attached to him. I posed a question to you last week. Who's in your circle advocating for you in this season? Who's fighting for you in this season of your life? The last thing we talked about last week was this miracle happened for this deaf man, all because Jesus intentionally went out of his way to take a detour. He went up to Sidon, which was about 22 miles out of the way from Tyre, before going down to Decapolis, proving that he will leave the 99 to save the one. Last week, we drove home the simple point that he took the detour for me. And church, that's what leads us to the message today. If you're up to speed, somebody shout, I'm up to speed. If you're ready to go further, somebody shout at me, let's go further. Somebody shout, Jonah, put up the clue. Let it marinate. Can we talk today? Are y'all sure? I'm not sure. So here's where we're at within the text. We have landed in the New Testament, and we are in the book of John. The book of what? John. We will be reading from the 8th chapter, and we will be starting at verse 1. So church, we've talked about spiritual eyesight. We've talked about spiritual hearing. We've talked about orbits, temple tables, Johari windows, and your circle. Today we get to the root. And in order to get to the root, you have to know where the tree is planted. So if you're ready, somebody shout at me, I'm ready. Okay, so John 7, giving you context. The moment leading up to what we're getting ready to highlight and talk about today, Jesus was openly teaching in the temple. He has been claiming that his teachings come directly from God. And ever since he has shown up, he has been exposing the hypocrisy of all the religious leaders. He declares himself the source of living water. And long story short, this causes division. It causes what? Some people are agreeing, saying that this dude that showed up, he's a prophet. Some are saying that he's the Messiah, while others want him arrested. The Sanhedrin, the what? Sends for Jesus to be arrested, but the officers, they come back without Jesus. I don't know about y'all, but if I send somebody on a mission and I know they're capable of completing the mission, and they come back having not completed the mission, I'm going to have some questions. Okay. They reported back to the Sanhedrin. And they said, the reason why we haven't shown up with this Jesus dude is because we've never heard anybody speak and teach like this man. So the Sanhedrin in John chapter 7, they mocked the guards and said, have you been led astray too? It's in the book, John chapter 7, 46 and 47. John chapter 7, 46 and 40. They mocked him because they came back empty-handed. So at this point, the atmosphere is extremely volatile. It's tense. Quick question for you. Have you ever been in the midst of a volatile situation or environment? Have you ever witnessed, so commercial break. This is the type of message where you are going to need to turn on your intellectual hat. Because what am I saying with the text? What am I saying that I'm not saying? If you're tracking, say I'm tracking. Have you ever been in the midst, so running this back now that you know I'm pulling on your intellect, what am I saying that I'm not saying? Have you ever been in the midst of a volatile situation or an environment? Have you ever witnessed one? How many of you know that a hostile environment is usually one where truth is present trying to make a breakthrough, but it has to fight the environment the lies have built? Did you catch it or did you miss it? A hostile environment is usually one where truth is present, trying to make a breakthrough, but it has to fight the environment that the lies have built. So what you have to understand is that with an environment like that, what you are experiencing is more than hostility. You're also experiencing a defense mechanism. Because the people that are hostile, the people that are volatile, the people that are uneasy, they're not attacking you. They're not trying to single you out. They're attacking whoever and whatever is in order to protect what they've built. I'm gonna run this back. They're not trying to attack you. They're not trying to single you out. They're just attacking whoever and whatever is trying to damage what they've tried to build. So the Sanhedrin is uneasy with Jesus. They're going through a kerfuffle. The environment is volatile. The officers were sent and they came back empty-handed without Jesus. And this is where we pick up the story in John chapter 8. Everybody goes home for the night. We're calling it a night. Jesus is not here. He said they've never heard anybody speak the way that he does. So we're calling it a night. Everybody goes home. But it says in verse 1 in your word ups that Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives. But early the next morning, he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and he taught them. As he was speaking, I want you to underline that in verse 3. As he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. I want you to underline, Pharisees brought, the word brought, a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. I want you to underline, they put her in front of the crowd. Teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? They were trying to trap him. Underline that, trap him. They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. Now, first things first, church. Here's what I need you to know. Bringing the text to life. This is the Mount of Olives. What you are looking at is the Dome Rock right here. Now, here's what you need to know. This has been renovated, right? This was not here when Jesus was walking the earth. They renovated this area and built this dome, this temple, about 600 to 70 years after Jesus was born. If you got it, say, I got it. Okay, do we got the second photo? Now, for those who've been rocking, y'all know we've talked about this gate before. I don't have time to touch it today, but this is what it looks like. Do we have the third photo? The Mount of Olives is what overlooks the town. So this is where Jesus was roughly hanging out about. If you got it, say, I got it. Okay, so Jesus was, obviously this area has kind of been renovated over a length of time, but Jesus, long story short, was hanging out around this area, and he was looking out over the city praying. If you got it, say, I got it. Okay, can we go for it? So the text states that in verse 3, as he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. Church, I read verse 3 and I had to stop. Because what's in the text that's not written in the text, that's waiting on us to uncover within the text? Church, we got to go beyond the. Okay, so I said to myself, I wonder why they thought this was a good idea. I wonder what made them think this was okay for them to, number one, interrupt the sermon while Jesus is in the middle of teaching. Can we talk about that? Okay, let's skip it. Number two, they interrupted him. Not only to interrupt him, but placed the accused woman in front of the entire crowd. Then as I began to sit with this, it began to dawn on me that, this interruption was intentional. Remember now, church, last night they all went home hot because they thought Jesus was going to be in their custody in handcuffs. And yet the officers came back empty-handed, so they're already on edge. See, here's what I'd like you to know. They could have held this woman in the back until after the teaching and then brought her up to Jesus to see what he had to say about it. But how many of you know that? One thing the enemy can't stand is when the word of God is being preached truthfully and authentically. See, this moment to the natural eye looks like this is all about a woman and her adultery. But in actuality, this moment is about preventing God's word from going forth. Are you tracking? And this is why the interruption had to be public. This is why it had to be dramatic. This is why the interruption had to be messy. This is why this interruption had to be in front of a crowd. This is why they overlooked the Levitical law in order to disrupt the teaching in order to push their own agenda. Church, because disruption is the enemy's favorite weapon to use when he knows deliverance is close. Disruption is the enemy's favorite weapon to use when he knows that deliverance is close. What do I mean by this? What am I saying? I'm saying if you're working on something, if you're building something, if you're moving the kingdom forward, if you're on the right path, if you're being a game changer, a mountain mover, if you are believing this word, disruptions are indicators that you're getting close. Somebody shout, I'm getting close. Somebody shout, I'm getting close. Okay, I can't touch it. I got to go. I can't touch it. But back to the story. What do I mean by they overlooked the Levitical law in order to push their own agenda? Church, did you know, if you're taking notes, Leviticus 20, verse 10. Leviticus 20 and 10 says, if a man commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, both the man and the woman who have committed this adultery must be put to death. So if we're going off of the Levitical law, which the Pharisees protected, if we're going off of the Levitical law, which the members of the Sanhedrin protected, according to this law, they should have brought not only the man, but they should have, not only the woman, they should have also brought the man to Jesus. But instead, they only brought the woman in front of the crowd. Not for the clarity of the law, church, but because the only way humiliation can work best is if it has an audience. The only way humiliation can work best is when it has an audience. And this is why it's important to watch how people start acting when they have an audience. You ever been around somebody and somebody else walk in the room and they just start acting different? Voices elevated and they start throwing around commands. Like, bro, chill. This is why it's important to watch how people start acting when they have an audience. Because having a crowd never changes a person's character. It only reveals it. Are you tracking with me, church? Having a crowd never changes a person's character. It only reveals it. Some people don't become bold when people are watching. They become performative while people are watching. Some people do not become bold when people are watching. They become performative when people are watching. And just so you know, it's not that, now what am I saying that I'm not saying? That you should know what I'm saying that I'm not saying. It's not that some of these people are in love with justice. It's that they're in love with being seen as the ones to enforce it. It's not that these people are in love with justice. It's that they're in love with being seen as the ones to enforce it. Make it make sense. The Pharisees are enforcing a law that they aren't even abiding by. Yeah, y'all getting it. Y'all are getting it. Y'all call them something different in 2026, but back then they would be called the Pharisees. They would be members of the Sanhedrin. By the way, are we still talking about the adulterous woman? Church, moving on. Verse 5, they said to Jesus, the law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped and he wrote in the dust with his finger. Notice how, are y'all tracking with me? Notice how these people, they showed up abruptly, out of nowhere, disrespectfully and unlawfully. Now, what am I saying that I'm not saying that you should know what I'm saying? Notice how they showed up abruptly, out of nowhere, disrespectfully, unlawfully, and still presented themselves as constitutional because they were pushing the law of Moses. I was in my prayer room and I yelled, "It's a trap!" Notice how they showed up with a trap, but Jesus responded with posture. He didn't answer the accusation, he just adjusted his position. How many of you know sometimes walking in real authority doesn't need you to argue, it just needs you to kneel. Sometimes this need to be shut and you just need to. He said, they said he did what with his finger? Mind you, they acted a donkey in front of the audience. Now it's his turn. Didn't say a word. He just adjusted his position. And I don't know how many people under the sound of my voice have been on your feet all year. I've come by here to tell somebody your feet are getting tired. It's time for you to adjust your position. It's time for you to take your position by adjusting your position. He didn't say a word. Didn't even address it. Took a knee. Funny how a story happened thousands of years ago by a man who was trying to prove a point by taking a knee of the injustices that are happening. He took a knee not to be disrespectful. He took a knee to say, hey, man, listen. I'm not disrespecting y'all or the law or what you got going on, but man, I wish you could see what you got going on in your own life. I wish you could see your Johari window. What I noticed about you that you ain't trying to notice about yourself. Took a knee, finger in the dust. Like, did y'all forget where you came from? Took a knee in front of the crowd. Didn't matter who was in the room. He took a knee in front of the crowd. Jesus began to write. And as I began to sit with Jesus writing, it hit my spirit that they tried to trap him with words, yet he disarmed them with his silence. And I've come by here to tell somebody, you've said enough. You've said enough this week. That may be hard for some of us to hear. You've said enough. There are some battles that are not won by what you say, but by what you refuse to dignify with a response. There are some battles that cannot be won by what you say, but by what you refuse to dignify with a response. And I don't even know who this is for. But somebody under the sound of my voice, I don't know why the Holy Spirit had me put this in here, but somebody needs to pick up the pen and start writing and journaling again. Holy Spirit told me to tell you it's time for you to get back to the basics. You've gotten away from it. It's what you used to love to do. You've been gifted to do it. You've been anointed to do it. Get back to writing. Get back to making words form from the dust of creation, because you are anointed to do it. Holy Spirit brought me by here to tell you, you have been gifted with the way you put your words together. Your words, carefully articulated, will go a lot further than your words being recklessly spewed. Write and grow, don't yell and diminish. Write and grow, don't yell and diminish. See, Jesus didn't yell and diminish himself to their level. He let them talk. He stooped and he wrote in the dirt. At times, you may feel dirty keeping your mouth closed. At times, your hands may feel dirty writing about all the dirt and mud this world is presenting. I came by here to tell you, This is the season you begin to channel it. You got to channel it. You've been anointed to write. I don't know who's been sitting on this gift. It's time for you to get back to the basics. It's time for you to write. Your words, carefully articulated, will go a lot further than your words being recklessly spewed. It says in verse 7, they kept demanding an answer. You're not talking. You're not talking. Hello? Hello? They kept demanding an answer. Demanding. Do you understand that he was sitting there not saying a word? And they're like, hello, do you hear me? And he's just, are you going to respond to us, King of the Jews? No response. One would have thought he was the deaf man. Jesus stood up and he said, all right, let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. Then he stooped down again and he wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd. Left in the what of the crowd? I said, this sounds like he's in the middle of a procession. They slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, oh, where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you? No, Lord, she said. And Jesus said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. Church, as I sat with this moment, I began to marinate on the fact that conviction never needed any volume to do its job. It only needed accuracy. I said, as I began to marinate on the fact that Jesus and this woman interacted, it came to me that conviction never needed any volume to do its job. Jesus didn't raise his voice, did he? No. Conviction never needed any volume to do its job. It only needed accuracy. What do I mean by this, church? One sentence from Jesus is what dismantled the mob, ready to stone this woman. Then as I sat with how they were dismantled, my eyes were open to a deeper level of understanding as to what really happened here. See, church, the crowd showed up. And when the crowd showed up, they were all on the same page mentally. Then it registered to me that Jesus dismantled the entire crowd mentally. They began to reflect on their own lives. All of the accusers that showed up, they were not there no more. I'm sure the conversation was like, are you sure? And they were like, I'm not sure. He dismantled them mentally. They began to think about their own sin. They began to process their own shortcomings. And as I began to sit with this message, it came to me that if you want to experience a revival this year, you're going to have to be aware of what you're thinking, how you're thinking, and be open to changing the way that you're thinking. And need I remind you for the last time in this series that revival is defined as an improvement in the condition or strength of someone or something, a sovereign reawakening of your spiritual life that has been infiltrated by God. As I began to study this week, the Lord began to show me the power of the mind. The power of the what? Church, did you know that there are about 10 ways that you think and process information? There are about 10 ways you think and process information and go about doing and saying the things that you do. How many of you know that if you want to be the best version of yourself, you have to be able to identify the areas you find yourself most in? And you have to be honest about the areas that need to be considered if you want to be unleashed. Somebody shouted, I'm ready. Somebody shout, I'm ready. Number one is the conscious way of thinking. Ten ways that you think. Number one is the conscious way of thinking. This is what you're aware of right now. This is, you're able to see me. I'm in a pulpit with all black on. You're able to see me consciously processing what I'm saying. It's what's happening in real time. This is the reasoning behind your logic. It's what influences your decision making. If you wanted to get up and go right now because you didn't like what you were hearing, this is what influences your decision to get up and go. It's your inner dialogue. In order to improve this area, church, you have to practice naming your thoughts in real time. You have to be able to say, this is fear talking. If you want to improve your conscious way of thinking, you have to practice naming your thoughts in real time. You have to be able to say, this is fear talking. This isn't wise for me to leave here right now. The enemy wants me to take offense to this level of correction and leave and never come back. You have to name it in real time and denounce it. Number 2 is the subconscious thinking. This is the background processing. What do I mean by this? Everything that you heard up until this point in the message has now been downloaded into your subconscious. If you got it, say, I got it. This is the background processing. It's your habits, it's your emotional reactions, it's learned behaviors, it's patterns and recognition. This runs most of your life without asking for permission. This area is not about control. This area is about training. You don't decide your subconscious, you train it. It's a habit that was formed to protect something. And in order to improve this area, after you have a big reaction to something, don't condemn it, just trace it. After you have a big reaction to something, don't condemn it, just trace it. Because the only way patterns can weaken is if you intentionally bring them to the light. Somebody shout, oh, the light. Number 3, that was an inside joke. Number 3 is instinctive thinking. These are the ways that we think. Number 3 is instinctive thinking. This is a reflex. This is your gut reaction. This is the first move before thought shows up. It's your fight, flight, and or freeze reactions. If you got to say, I got it. It's your body deciding before your mind can catch up. It's your body deciding what to do before your mind can catch up. It's what activates when something feels threatened, urgent, or familiar. This type of thinking doesn't ask, is this true? Is it wise? It asks, am I safe, or do I need to act now? This way of thinking runs faster than your logic. It runs faster than your habits. It runs faster than your words. This area is not about intelligence. This area is about survival. And in order to improve this area, you have to try to create a pause between that triggered you and that responsive you. The pause is not weakness, church, it's leadership. I've come by here to tell somebody the pause is not weakness, it's leadership. Number 4 is emotional thinking. Is this good, or do we need to skip it and wrap it up? Okay. Number 4 is emotional thinking. This is meaning making. This is how you interpret what just happened. This is the story you attach to a feeling. This is where feelings become narratives. Emotional thinking, it answers, what does this mean about me? What does this mean about them? What does this moment say about my worth, my safety, or my future? This moment, this emotional thinking, it doesn't ask if something is true. It asks if something hurts. And to improve this way of thinking, you have to name the emotion before you decide you're going to obey it. To improve this way of thinking, you have to name the emotion before you decide that you are going to obey it. Number 5, analytical thinking. Number 5 is analytical thinking. This is evaluation. This is breaking things down. It asks, what's really happening? Why did this happen? What is the most logical next step to take? This thinking values data over emotion. Analytical thinking, it values data over emotion and clarity over comfort. This area is about accuracy. Analytical thinking does not react, it assesses. And to improve this way of thinking, you have to separate facts from assumptions. You have to separate facts from assumptions and to ask better questions before drawing solid conclusions. Number 6, creative/imaginative thinking. This is vision. This is possibility. Number 6 is creative/imaginative thinking. This is vision. This is possibility. Have you ever heard a person say, I'm a creative? This is seeing what hasn't been seen yet. It asks, what could this become? What's another way? What if there's more that can be done here? This thinking isn't bound by current limits. It explores beyond logic because this area isn't about fantasy, it's about innovation. To improve this way of thinking, you have to expose yourself to new environments and ideas. Some of us are undergoing a creative block and change your environment. Expose yourself to new environments and ideas. Allow ideas without immediately judging them. Allow them to come to you without immediately judging them. And then practice envisioning outcomes before constraints. You have to practice envisioning outcomes before constraints. Number 7, church, I got to get y'all out of here. Number 7 is narrative thinking. This is the story. This is how you connect events into identity. It answers, who am I? What kind of person is this making me? What always happens to people like me? Narrative thinking doesn't focus on moments. It focuses on all the patterns with meaning. To improve this way of thinking, you have to find a way to honor the past without living in it. Eight, meta thinking, M-E-T-A. This is you thinking about what you're thinking about. This is the awareness of your awareness. This is stepping outside the moment to observe yourself in the moment. It asks, why do I think this way? Where did this belief come from? Is this thought helping or is it limiting me? Meta thinking doesn't react to your thoughts, it examines them. Meta thinking creates distance between you and the thought that is trying to lead you. And to improve this way of thinking is by pausing and observing your thoughts without judgment. Number 9 and 10, before I get you out of here, somatic thinking, S-O-M-A-T-I-C thinking. I want you guys to do your own homework, amen? I'm just giving you the bones. I don't have the time to give you the meat. Somatic thinking. This is body-based knowing. This is what your body senses before your mind can explain it. This is the awareness through sensation. It shows up as tension, tightness, ease, fatigue, or restlessness. Somatic thinking. Have you ever gotten around people and you just, I don't know what it is. Some might call it discernment. To improve the somatic way of thinking, you have to notice your physical sensations without overlooking them. If you got a bad vibe around them, stay away from them. Track where the stress lives inside your body. And number 10, relational thinking. This is about connection. Come on now. This is about connection. This is about the awareness of others. This is about how you think with and about people. How you think with and about people. It asks, how does this affect them? What's happening between us? What's being communicated beyond the words? Relational thinking reads tone, presence, and patterns, not just content. Okay, so church, now that you know the 10 ways of thinking is the final piece to experience a full revival, knowing that this is the main ingredient needed to create a revival, after gaining an understanding of spiritual eyesight, after gaining an understanding of spiritual hearing, after identifying what you're orbiting and all of the things that need to be flipped off of your temple table, after discovering your Johari window, what is the point of a revival? The point of a revival, 1 John 15, 1 through 2, is to produce fruit. I am the true grapevine, Jesus was speaking. He said, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit. And he prunes the branches that do bear fruit so they will produce even more. So, because I got to endure a cut to produce the fruit this year, because I got to get pruned in order to be who God has called me to be this year, because I got to flip tables this year, because I got to recenter who God is in my life this year, because I got to hear from God this year, because I got to see him in every area of my life this year, because he forgave me of all of my sins this year, because he did this, this means I'm declaring the title of the message over my life this year, which is, I'm showing up different. I'm showing up different because this year I need something different. Even if I got to get the blessing out the mud, I'm showing up different. What you don't know is Jesus traveled 22 intentional miles for me. If you won't go out of your way, he will. And because he will, this means I'm showing up different. Yeah, I'm flipping tables this year. I'm choosing alignment over availability. So let them call me out my name. Let them call me by my sin. Let them cause a disruption all they want to. Let them bring me before the crowd. Let them try and make a mockery out of me. Let them gossip behind my back. It don't matter to me none, because this year I'm showing up different. Somebody shout at me, I'm showing up different.